What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I did end up deciding to play something I have never played before, which is also going to be a game I saw so many mixed opinions on. I was like, you know what? Let me jump on to Dirt 5 and see why this game was so odd, or pretty much why nobody liked it. Which, by the way, I am also going to have a video of why this game got hate. I'll touch on some other stuff in that video. But for this one, though, is basically me jumping into Dirt 5 as a first-time player here in 2025 on the PlayStation 5. Now, the thing I do admit right now, which is probably going to sound a bit insane, is I did not really mind the physics in the game. Like, I'm not saying they're going to be the best thing out there, but I also admit they really weren't the most terrible thing either. I mean, were they going to be the worst overall physics I've ever seen in a racing game? I would probably say no, like they really weren't going to be that awful, but I would also see why players did not really enjoy the way the cars did end up feeling. Now, this also brings me into something else, guys. I could be tripping out here, but does anybody else think the game kind of feels a tad dull when you are racing or something, or the look of it? Like, I just feel like, yeah, the game's going to have good graphics, but at times the game kind of felt like, I don't know, man, it's weird. I just felt like it was just kind of dull or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're racing, the cars don't really feel like they have, like, all that much life to it. You're pretty much racing. Yeah, the game's going to look pretty. You're going to have the nice dirt physics because, you know, it's called dirt. You're going to see the nice detail of the vehicles and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I just, when going through the events, I was kind of enjoying it. Like, the funny part is, in the beginning of the game, I went through a good amount of races, basically back and forth playing through the entire campaign. I think I'm, like, almost halfway through it at the moment. Something like that. I was going through maybe around 10, 15 events in. I was like, okay, I'm kind of liking the game a bit. It's pretty dang fun. Then I was like, okay, but I'm also not really liking the way the cars feel. It is kind of boring. Is it almost like looking at the graphics playing the game, you're like, yeah, like it looks good, but it's not really going to have any life to it. Y'all know what I mean? I don't know if that sounds kind of dumb, but just the way I really was looking at it, like I understand a lot of games nowadays are focusing on the graphics part of it, which I am definitely going to talk about this in a video because it kind of frustrates me a bit. Yes, graphics are going to be important, but you know what's also important, man? The gameplay in a game. Who would have thought? Like, yeah, the game can look pretty, but if it's not going to be fun to play, or like the gameplay is boring, it doesn't matter how good the game looks. Again, one of my favorite references of this is looking at a really beautiful donut. It is going to be one of the donuts that's cream filled, right? You look at it, it's beautiful, you bite into it, and it's empty, man. There's nothing in it. That's basically what it kind of feels like, you know what I mean? The one thing I admit, though, probably my favorite part about Dirt 5, I'm not sure what anyone else thinks about it, is probably going to be the rock crawler type of events. They're easily my favorite ones. The reason for that is the vehicles itself are going to be pretty fun. They're quick. They look absolutely insane. The cool part, though, is all the tracks are going to be different, at least the ones I played on. There's going to be rocks you have to jump over, tight turns. You got to, like, fly up super high hills and stuff like that, go around them, jump over the rocks, go through the water and stuff like that, go for, like, a crazy rock course up a hill. It is honestly pretty dope. Easily my favorite part of the game, I think. And I would say a lot of players might jump in this and go, okay, well, I kind of like the rally cross. I mean, the rally raid type of vehicles are kind of dope, but I really think it is going to be odd because almost every vehicle class to me, though, kind of all feels the same in some way, besides, like, I guess the trophy trucks. Those are a bit different. Basically, every rally and rallycross vehicle kind of feels the same. That's why when I was doing the rock crawler events, I'm like, okay, these are pretty cool. These events are kind of entertaining. I like them. But when I was going back in doing some of like the rally raid events, going in doing some of like the rallycross events, like they're pretty cool. But it was also kind of down to the fact that many of the maps and stuff like that, or like the routes you did end up doing, was basically going to be almost the same exact thing, though. And look, though, I am going to break this down a tad more on why I really did get a bit frustrated with this in the video about why this game got hate, which I think we can all agree that's probably going to be a reason why it most likely did, because if you are doing some of the events, you're like, yo, these tracks are pretty dope, man. And then you're probably going to be like me a bit, doing a few more races, going, okay, so these tracks are pretty dope. You then do another event, and you're like, oh, this looks kind of familiar. Then you're like, wait a second, this is the same track, but it's got snow and it's backwards. That's kind of dope. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I do understand that, yeah, in many rallycross games or rally games, you're probably going to have the same routes and stuff. They're going to be split up in that set area with, like, different sections or something. You're then going to have, like, reverse or something, the regular one. It could be raining, snowing. I get that stuff. The funny part is, though, I had more fun repeating the tracks in Dirt 4. The one thing I was not a big fan about in Dirt 4 was the fact that the trophy trucks, like the buggy things, those were honestly not all that fun. I think they are better in Dirt 5. The fact that we actually have legit trophy trucks in this game and the real Class 1 F1 buggies is probably my favorite part about this game as well. I mean, that's going to be pretty dope. They kind of removed those from Dirt 4, which kind of bothered me a bit, but luckily seeing them in Dirt 5 was pretty awesome. They pretty much tried to do something in Dirt 5 that was similar to Dirt 3 and 2, but it basically does not hit the same, man. Y'all know what I mean? The thing is, yeah, there's going to be a good amount of vehicle classes. We have something like Classic Rally, we have 90s Rally, we have Cross Raid, we have Off-Road Formula, which honestly, that's kind of a useless category if you ask me. We have Modern Rally, Pre-Runners, Rallycross, and so on. There's a good amount of different vehicles in the game. The only thing is, though, I feel like a lot of players are probably going to run a lot of these and go, okay, so yeah, we're going to have some cool trucks in this one. There's some cool cars in this one. But for some odd reason, I just did not like a lot of the cars I did end up driving. You know, I also think some of that might end up coming down to the stats of the vehicles themselves, where you look at that and go, okay, so this thing is probably going to be really good. You buy it, it's going to be a tad quicker. Handling's pretty much going to be the same as the other 5 cars you did end up driving. But yeah, the car's going to be slightly faster in certain areas. Like, that's pretty dope. But I do feel like, guys, the way they did end up doing the stats in the game really does annoy me a bit. Like, for example, here on the Pre-Runners class, you are going to see something like the Aston Martin DBX, right? It's going to be Performance in S, which in this game, S is going to be the highest level you can possibly get. And then there's also going to be Handling. We're then going to have the lovely Ford Raptor here, which is going to be C, which is pretty dang low. Then we're also going to have the A for Performance. Funny part is, guys, I was doing a few different events in the lovely DBX here, which looking at it, you're probably like, yeah, this is going to be the fastest car in this entire category, which in ways it is. That is going to be true. But other times I was noticing I was getting completely smoked by the Raptor. So I was like, okay, let me drive the Raptor, guys. Turns out this thing is basically as quick. And in some areas, I think it might even be a lot better than the DBX is. So if you are looking at a car, let's say you are playing something like Dirt 5, which I am going to break down other classes in the other video I will be doing on this game. But if you are looking at some of these, do not get discouraged. What in the world is that thing, bruh? Anyway, though, I got a tad distracted by one of the weirdest looking Audis I have probably ever seen, but this thing is going to be A and also B for the handling. You see BA and so on. BB, you're also going to see CA. So yeah, this thing's probably going to be a tad slower. Funny part is, though, guys, even though some of these vehicles might be a tad lower level than you think they are, because again, I cannot stand the way they did the stats in this game on these cars, you could probably run something like the Ford Raptor pretty much the entire time you do it, which was literally the first vehicle the game did end up giving you, so you probably don't even have to buy anything. I decided to buy the DBX because I'm like, yo, is that an Aston Martin that is literally going to be a pre-runner for off-roading? That's pretty dope. I do like how this SUV is in real life. Let me try this thing out. Turns out, though, I feel like in some ways the Raptor's still going to be better. Like, yeah, the Aston Martin might accelerate maybe a little bit better. It might handle a tad better. But a lot of the stats I feel like in this game really are so dang odd to me. And you know what, though? The biggest takeaway I have from playing Dirt 5 on the PS5 all the way here in 2025 is down to one simple thing. I kind of feel like I did see where they were trying to go with Dirt 5, probably trying to capture the key moments and the best things about Dirt 2 and Dirt 3, but you know what? It really did end up falling short compared to those games. I mean, we all do know how special those games were, and I feel like everybody loved them, so like, okay, well, maybe we could do something different with that, but also add it into this way, that we're now going to have Dirt 5, which is probably also why this game completely failed in so many different aspects. Like, yeah, there's going to be a good amount of vehicles. Again, I feel like most of them aren't that great, and I do feel like a lot of players might not be the biggest fan of the physics. And for me, though, I wouldn't necessarily say the physics are that terrible. It's more of the fact that driving and stuff like that with how the game is set up is honestly just kind of boring. Like, yeah, there's going to be different game modes and stuff like the Gymkhana thing, which honestly wasn't all that great. I feel like that was kind of cool. You go in there, you drift around, you hit some stuff, you get some points, and that is basically going to be it. Not too much stuff to see there. A lot of players are probably going to do those and instantly forget about them, most likely wanting to drive the other classes and do the events. But that is then going to bring me into the next video, guys, which do stay tuned for that one, where I do want to go over how the events itself, the design of it, really is kind of a big L in this game. Do let me know what y'all think about Dirt 5. Have you played this game in 2025? What do y'all think about it? And again, stay tuned for the next video when I break this down a bit, going over why I think this game got so much hate, because honestly, I can definitely see why it did.